Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, accompanied by Dr. Jill Biden, Alma Powell, Rob Gordon, Tim Mahoney, Sheila Casey, and George Washington University President Stephen Knapp. Thank you for coming. Hey, Tommy. Please. First of all, let me just say thank you to Sway. Isn't he great, by the way? Let's give him a hand. Terrific. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Obama, Dr. Biden, Mrs. Powell. Distinguished guests, fellow veterans, I'm Rob Gordon, a proud member of City Year, a veteran and chair of Mission Serve. Welcome, welcome to you all. On this Veterans Day, we are here to honor and commemorate the great sacrifice that our men and women in uniform have made to protect and defend our nation. We are also here, and this is a great privilege, to celebrate a significant step forward in bringing together civilian and military service. It was 16 years ago, as a White House fellow, that I arranged and was witness to a meeting between my then boss, Eli Siegel, who was the assistant to the president and director of national service, and my former boss, General Colin Powell. I was his aide at that point in time, almost 20-some years ago, and he was then the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That day, the two leaders agreed that the military would assist in supporting the fledgling new civilian service program we now know as AmeriCorps. Yes, AmeriCorps. This meeting served as a catalyst for the two worlds working together around a common purpose of service. But not until 2 years ago, through the birth of the ServiceNation Coalition, were these two communities able to find meaningful ways to work together on a larger scale. Leaders from Be the Change, City Year, Civic Enterprises, and the Points of Light Institute recognized the need to champion this vision of service, and brought together almost 250 organizations with almost 100 million Americans coming together. We are ServiceNation, and we help to inspire and build support for the bipartisan Edward M. Kennedy Act, Serve America Act, which was signed into law by President Obama in April of this year. Just incredible. In that same spirit, our coalition was inspired by the potential of bringing together the civilian and military service sectors, and we asked members of the ServiceNation Coalition to come together to support the many needs of the military community, and thus Mission Serve was born. More than 50 organizations answered the call, resulting in over 30 initiatives across America that closely coordinates our civilian and military service communities. The ServiceNation Coalition encompasses community service organizations, veterans organizations, military family groups, and active duty and reserve components from each branch who are dedicated to meaningfully integrating service to country with service to community. The initiatives you are going to hear about under the Mission Serve represent a tremendous leap forward in serving those who serve in our armed forces, veterans, and families that support them. It is an honor to inaugurate these initiatives and wish their supporters well as they endeavor to accomplish this essential work, restoring the proud tradition of serving those who serve our nation. It is also my distinct privilege to honor one individual who personifies service to community and nation with the first ever ServiceNation Award for Excellence in Military and Civilian Service. For her leadership and significant contributions to making a positive difference in the lives of so many in the military and civilian service communities, I'm honored to give this inaugural award to Mrs. Alma J. Powell. Now, it is special. It's special for me to give, please be seated. It's special for me to give this award to Mrs. Powell. Since almost 30 years ago, I served as an aide to General Colin Powell. You helped bring me up. And watched with pride and joy over these years as Mrs. Powell emerged as a powerful leader whose accomplishments have gone above and beyond the call of duty in service to those in need, especially members of our armed forces, veterans, their families, and our nation's children. Some highlights include her time as the Army liaison to the National Red Cross, advisor to the Red Cross of the Military District of Washington, and the honorary president of the Associates of the American Foreign Service Worldwide. Mrs. Powell currently serves as the board chair, as many of you know, of America's Promise Alliance, a cross-sector partnership of more than 300 organizations with the mission of forging a strong and effective partnership alliance committed to seeing that children experience the 5 promises, the critical supports they need to succeed in life. It is for her leadership and dedication to our country in these areas that ServiceNation is proud to honor Mrs. Alma Powell with the inaugural ServiceNation Award for excellence in military and civilian service. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That was truly a gracious introduction. Rob, I raised you well. And I know that his family is in the audience today, and I greet them, and I'm so happy that you all are here to share this. I am really deeply honored to receive this award, and it is with great humility that I share it with the many military families and countless Americans who step forward every day to help make life better for those around them, and especially those who work with our children and our youth, who are our greatest hope and our nation's most valued treasure. Earlier today, I know that many of you were a part of the Blue Star families and student veterans of administration who were busy preparing care packages for military families. Efforts like this and the larger effort behind the ServiceNation Civilian Military Initiative are essential, vital to the well-being of our American community. At America's Promise Alliance, we are very pleased to partner with the Military Child Education Coalition on our work with the Gallup Institute, measuring the hope, the engagement, and the well-being of American young people, many of whom are the children of servicemen and women. We have to know what our children are thinking so that we can work to provide the things that they need. Service is the selfless recognition that all of us have a role to play. We have a role to play in sustaining our communities and helping them to become great. It is through selfless acts that we become our better selves. Now, service is a value that was instilled in me at a very early age, and it shaped my life for 33 years as a military wife and part of the great military family. It is at the heart of everything that we do at the America's Promise Alliance. I steadfastly believe that the 5 promises that young people need, caring adults, safe places, a healthy start, an effective education, and opportunities to help others through service. All of these are crucial in our children's lives. And that last one, the opportunities to help others through service, is the capstone promise that builds on all of the others to turn children into fine, upstanding citizens of this great nation. It is appropriate that you launch this initiative on a day when we remember those who have served our nation. And it is important, really important, that we affirm today and take with us all the time that it is all of us working in partnership to build a stronger America. Civilian and military, schools and communities, private and public sectors. Over 200 years ago, it was Thomas Jefferson who said, "There is a debt of service due from every man to his country, proportioned to the bounties which nature and fortune have measured to him." And that's the spirit that is alive here today. It is a spirit that I see growing across this land, and it will continue to grow with your energy and leadership. It is this spirit by which America will live out the true meaning of service nation. And it is in this spirit that will ensure that the greatest days of our nation are yet to be. I am so grateful to this honor. Thank you so very much, and the honor of serving with all of you.
All right. I want to try something real quick, okay? So we're all in the same spirit here in this room today. When I say mission, you say serve, okay? Mission. Serve. Mission. Serve. Okay, cool. If you've never been to a rap concert, that's kind of what it's like, all right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to hear from another hero of both civilian and military service. Sergeant Tim Mahoney is the very emblem of what we're launching here today. He has served 2 tours with City Year, working with elementary and secondary school kids in Boston. More recently, he served 2 tours in Iraq, the latest as a member of the Army's bomb squad, so you know he has a lot of courage. He is currently stationed at Fort Lewis in Washington State. Please give it up for Sergeant Tim Mahoney.
All right, how's everybody doing? All right, good afternoon. My name is Timothy Mahoney, and I'm honored to stand before you as both a sergeant in the U.S. Army and an alumnus of City Year. Now, in 1995, a couple years after I graduated high school, I answered the call to serve my country by joining City Year, donning the red jacket, and working with a team of young idealists in a Boston school in a low-income neighborhood that faced a lot of challenges without a lot of resources. We were tutors and mentors dedicated to helping students stay in school and on track to high school graduation and success beyond. The year was transformational. I was no longer a shy and uncertain kid. I was a leader with a plan. I was given skills and opportunity to change the world. Now, my City Year ended, but my desire to serve continued. This time, it was in a new uniform. In 2003, I enlisted in the Army, and like Sway mentioned, I've been to Iraq twice. I went most recently as an explosive ordnance disposal technician to address the danger of the many improvised explosive devices. What I learned at City Year, teamwork, dedication, community building, sensitivity to diversity, and patience, among other things, were crucial to my transition into the military. A life like mine, one that combines civilian and military service, is less and less unusual. Indeed, it will become more and more common with the initiatives and the partnerships announced today, efforts I wholeheartedly support. These investments are in the interest of our nation's security and the welfare of our citizen veterans, active duty soldiers, and military families. I'm honored to now introduce to you an extraordinary American who has dedicated her life to education, social justice, and supporting military families. Dr. Jill Biden. As a Blue Star mother, Dr. Biden has made military families one of her top priorities. She has traveled to many bases in both the United States and in Germany to speak with soldiers and their families and try to raise awareness and show appreciation for the special sacrifices that these Americans make. In Delaware, Dr. Biden was active with a nonprofit organization called Delaware Boots on the Ground, which is dedicated to helping families during times of military deployment by organizing community events to raise awareness and support. Because of her deep commitment to education, President Obama has asked Dr. Biden to help highlight the importance of America's community colleges. And Dr. Biden frequently visits community colleges and speaks with students, parents, and teachers around the country as part of this outreach. We are so honored that she is with us today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jill Biden.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tim, for that kind introduction, and thank you for your history of service to this country. Thank you also to ServiceNation for the invitation to be a part of this important event. It's great to join so many of you who are dedicating to service with our military members, veterans, and their families. Today is obviously a very important day for all Americans. I spent the morning with the President and our First Lady and my husband Joe at a White House breakfast with veterans. And then we went to Arlington Cemetery. And this afternoon, just now, Joe and I hosted a luncheon for veterans and their families at our residence. I am always inspired by the deep commitment to our nation and overwhelmed with gratitude for what they do to protect all of us. So it's an honor to be here this afternoon with so many service members, veterans, families, and volunteers. Over the past year, I've been delighted to work with our First Lady to explore the issues faced by our soldiers and their families while they are deployed and once they return home. The concerns of service members and veterans are our top priority for this administration. And we are working hard to expand access to child care, to improve housing conditions, and to provide quality care and treatment for our wounded warriors. But as all the groups here today can attest, there is a role for each and every one of us in supporting our military families. My son, Bo, recently returned from a year's deployment in Iraq. His unit's first stop in the United States was in Manchester, New Hampshire, where the plane was greeted by dozens of veterans and volunteers lined up to welcome them home. He was incredibly moved and grateful for the gesture by each and every one of those volunteers. And at that moment, he knew he was finally and truly back home. I've been a member, as Tim said, of a group called Delaware Boots on the Ground, which performs simple acts of service like supporting summer camps for kids whose parents are deployed or encouraging local restaurants to provide pizza for welcoming home ceremonies. These are small acts, but like my sons welcomed by the troop greeters, they mean so much to our service members. In these ways, and thousands of others, Americans can lend a hand and make a real difference. On Veterans Day and every other day, it's our sacred duty to honor the service of those who sacrifice for our country, and we can all play a role. I hope that all of us will pause today and think about how we can join in this call for service. I know what an impact it will have. I want to again thank ServiceNation and the dozens of groups and programs represented here for giving Americans concrete ways to participate. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and partner, our First Lady, Michelle Obama.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm thrilled to be here, thrilled and honored. We've had a wonderful day today, as Jill said, and this just tops it off. First, let me begin by thanking Jill for her kind introduction. As a Blue Star mom, as she said, whose son recently returned from Iraq, Jill has brought her personal experience to our work in the White House, and it has been invaluable. She's working tirelessly to highlight the extraordinary service of our National Guard and Reserve members and their families. She is a wonderful partner and a dear friend to me and my husband, and I love her dearly. Please, let's give Jill another round of applause. It is such a privilege to be here with all of you today on this Veterans Day to help launch ServiceNation's new civilian military initiative, Mission Serve. I want to thank Senator Merkley, who's here, and Major General Stephen Roman Apt for joining us today. And I'd also like to recognize Colonel Rob Gordon, Mission Serve's chair, as well as Ross Cohen, the Director for Civilian Military Partnerships for ServiceNation, and all of the people and partners who have worked so hard to create this effort. You all have done just a fabulous job. And I also want to thank GW and your president. Go GW. And your president, Steve Knapp, for hosting us today. As some of you know, a couple of months ago, I issued a little challenge to this university that if students, faculty, and staff here did 100,000 hours of community service, that I'd do what? Speak at commencement. Well, in just 7 weeks, you all have done more than 19,000 hours of service. That is pretty amazing. That's wonderful. So if you all keep it up, maybe I'll see you here in May, right? Finally, I feel particularly privileged to share the stage today with Mrs. Alma Powell, she knows a thing or two about service and sacrifice, right? She's devoted her life to giving our young people every opportunity to fulfill their dreams, and she is a wonderful role model to me, just a tremendous asset to this country. Another round of applause for Mrs. Alma Powell. One of the greatest privileges that I have as First Lady is the chance to meet with veterans and to meet with service members and their families all across America. And I have to tell you, I always come away from every single visit with this sense of pride and gratitude, but also with a sense of awe, true awe. I'm in awe of sacrifices they make. You think about it, a tiny fraction of our population bearing the burden of 8 years of war, serving tour after tour of duty, missing out on birthdays and anniversaries and those precious moments with the people that they love most. I'm in awe of the men and women that I meet who have been wounded, and some very seriously, who will tell you that all they think about is not their injuries, but about the folks that they left behind. and all they want to do is to be back in their units serving this country again. I'm in awe. And I'm in awe of the military families that I meet, spouses who play the role of both parents, trying to juggle getting to baseball games and ballet recitals, doing it all, grandparents who step in to care for the children when a single mom or dad in uniform is away, people who find the strength to carry on after those they love most have made the ultimate sacrifice. And we witnessed their courage and grace this past week in the aftermath of the unthinkable tragedy at Fort Hood. And we hold those who lost their lives and those who love them in our thoughts and our prayers today. All of those men and women, they joined our armed forces because they love this country so much that they're willing to give everything they have to protect it. And that commitment, it doesn't just disappear when they return to civilian life. See, that's the beauty of it. It doesn't go away. For many of these folks, service is the air they breathe. It's the reason they were put here on this earth. And they don't just want to serve for a certain number of years of deployment. They want to make their entire life a tour of duty. And whether it's technical skills in engineering, logistics, public safety, whether it's leadership skills like team building and performing under intense pressure, what they've learned standing watch over the homeland and fighting wars abroad is precisely what we need to meet our biggest challenges here at home. And that's whether it's turning around a failing school or managing a big city homeless shelter. We need that energy, whether it's running a rural health clinic or rescuing a community struck by a natural disaster. Our veterans have what it takes for success. So they have the skills to serve, and they have the will to serve. And it's up to us to give them the opportunity to serve. And that's why the Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act that my husband signed into law establishes a Veterans Corps. That's why our United We Serve Summer of Service program engaged veterans groups all across America, deploying them to serve their communities right here at home. And that's why we're so thrilled about the endeavor that you are all launching here today. Through the partnerships in this new coalition, Wounded Warriors are mentoring young people and combating gang violence. Through this initiative, veterans are building homes in New Orleans and working to reduce the dropout rate in Boston and Philadelphia, and helping their fellow veterans reintegrate into communities all across America. And ordinary citizens are mobilizing to give something back to our men and women in uniform who've given so much to us, like offering free summer camps for military kids, or working to expand economic opportunity for military families, providing job training, educational support, and mental health services for our veterans. It's this kind of work this administration has been doing since my husband took office. His budget called for the largest percentage increase in the Veterans Administration budget in 30 years, and that includes pay raises to our troops. It includes improvements in health care, education, and housing, and career development for military spouses. This administration is providing more on-base child care and expanding the Family and Medical Leave Act to help military families and wounded veterans keep their jobs and fulfill their responsibilities as parents, spouses, and caregivers. And just this week, my husband signed an executive order that will dramatically step up our efforts to hire veterans throughout the federal government. But we all know that in the end, supporting our military and our military families requires more than just good government. I say this all the time. It also requires an active citizenship. Because when our troops go off to war, they are protecting every single one of us. The freedoms they fight for are ones that every single one of us enjoys. So it's up to every single one of us to honor their service with service of our own. It's up to us to recognize our veterans not just for all they've done for this country, but for all they will continue to do for this country. That's what Mission Serve is all about. It's about honoring the dedication that led a young man named Kent Park to West Point and then ultimately to Iraq. And it motivated him to continue his service as a mentor to young people when he returned back home. And as Kit put it, he said, "You have to be an active participant by giving back to your community and doing your part." He said, "That's what being a citizen means. It's a lifetime of steady dedication to service." It's about honoring the courage that led Amber Barr, a soldier who I met at Fort Hood yesterday. See, Amber rushed to the aid of others during the attack last week. And she helped out a number of her fellow soldiers, not even realizing that she had been shot in the back herself. She later explained, this is her quote, "My own personal safety wasn't really what mattered to me. It was making sure that my battle buddies were safe." She said that was my number one priority. And it's about honoring the service and sacrifice of our military families, too. It's about honoring people like Daniel DeCrow, who I met at Fort Hood. He lost his son, Justin. He said the last time he spoke to Justin, he told him how proud he was. And he later said, "That's what I said to him every time I saw him, that I loved him and I was proud of what he was doing." He said, "I can carry that around in my heart." So may each and every one of us carry that same pride, that same gratitude, that same love in our hearts, not just on this day, but every single day. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.